Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is yet another episode of Talking Cinema. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I don't have much to say when it comes to the DVD and Blu-ray front, except for one rant on Warner Archive, because I got a personal bone to pick with Warner Archive and Warner Brothers, and I'm not the only one, but I'll save that for later. When it comes to anything on that front, I don't have much to say in terms of upcoming releases. Uh, I'm really looking forward to Paramount's 4K box set of the Indiana Jones films because I'm a huge fan of those movies, and I think they really have the potential to look incredible in 4K. I was so hyped for that release, I already pre-ordered it. Um, Scream Factory and Shout Factory, they have a decent slate of releases coming out in May. King Kong 1976 and a 2-disc special edition, which I've already pre-ordered. Uh, their Shout Select line is going to be coming out with Blu-rays of Explorers and Wildcats, two 80s films that I enjoy. Well, I mean, Explorers, I enjoy a good chunk of it, but I don't like the last half. But I still do enjoy a good amount of that movie, and I would like to see it on Blu-ray with a new print, and I would be curious to see what the features are. And in terms of other boutique releasing companies, Arrow didn't really have much that interested me, but on the Arrow Video News front, they got bought out by the Hut Group, who are the same company that runs Zavi. So if you're not a big fan of Zavi and you're one of those people that have had really bad experiences with them, uh, I'm sorry. Now the same company that owns and operates Zavi owns and operates Arrow. I'm hoping that they just let Arrow do their thing because Arrow's been successful and has been really good at that for so long. I'm hoping the company just lets them run like normal, but I don't know. I'm really hoping and praying that this is not another Anchor Bay situation where they get bought out by a bigger company and then they are never the same again. Because that would suck. Because Arrow Video to me is the pinnacle right now and the best uh, Blu-ray boutique company when it comes to an independent company who is getting titles and releasing them to the public. Now, another company that's on the rise is Vinegar Syndrome, and in years past, their announcements for their Black Friday sale and their upcoming titles for Black Friday have actually been pretty good. I mean, last year, you have Fade to Black, and I've been waiting for that to get a release for a long, long time. They also had the Beastmaster, and I think in their halfway to Black Friday sale in one year, they also had Rad. But now, this year, it's very underwhelming to me. You have Six String Samurai, which I'm curious about seeing in HD. If you're a huge fan of that film, that's going to be a big release for you. But $40 is a lot for me to pay for a film that I have yet to see yet. And I don't know. It just seems like it's a little steep. Beastmaster was worth it for me because I've seen that film and I'm already a fan of that movie. It's one of my favorite 80s fantasy films. So I wanted that on Blu-ray. But Six String Samurai, I'm kind of on the fence about. They're a collection of TV movies I don't really give a shit about. I'm sorry. If you look forward to it, that's fine. And Surf 2, really? Apparently, it has a cult following, and it's the first time I've ever heard of it because I talked about Surf 2 in a group on Facebook, and people were like, "It's got a cult following." I'm like, "It's the first time I've ever heard of that movie having a following." Um, so yeah, underwhelming. And other than the Warner Archive bullshit, which trust me, I'm going to get to. I don't really have anything else to say when it comes to upcoming DVD and Blu-ray releases. I haven't really heard any news about upcoming titles that really is caught my eye just yet. And the year is still young, so there probably will be new releases that will be announced that I'm going to be looking forward to. But let's get started with talking about some movie news. Now, in particular, I am going to talk about Space Jam, A New Legacy. I'm going to start out talking about that, and then I'm going to go from there. Because I am on Screen Rant, not Screen Rant, Slash Film, because Screen Rant is trash. It used to be not that bad, but now it's just shitty. Just way too many ads, and just really poor in terms of its subject matter and the writing. And Slash Film isn't much better, but it's still better than Screen Rant or Cinema Blend. So, Space Jam: A New Legacy. I am a big fan of Space Jam. And not in the ironic way. I really enjoy the film. I still enjoy the movie. I think it's a fun film. It's a fun mashup of different genres of a sports film and a cartoon. And it was a combination of two things that I really enjoyed growing up. I really had a lot of fun with the Looney Tunes. I grew up more with Tiny Toon Adventures than I did the original Looney Tunes cast, but I was still a fan of those characters. I still was a big fan of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, and I was also an enormous fan of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls as a kid. So those two together was a dream come true for me. I remember begging my mom to see the film in the theater, and I probably annoyed the hell out of her. I'm probably not the only kid that did that in the 90s when Space Jam was released. And I had it on VHS. I remember the VHS that had like this coin that came with it. You 90s kids probably remember what I'm talking about. It was a special collector's coin that came with the VHS release of the film. And I watched the heck out of that. And I recently picked it up on Blu-ray. I know it's going to be getting a 4K release, which I would not mind getting one of these days. But the Blu-ray looks pretty good, especially upconverted with some extra processing power with my new Sony uh, audio video receiver, which does some extra work to upscale things. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So the 4K has to be significantly better to be on a whole other level when it comes to quality. Some decent features too, but nothing really amazing. And it's a film that I think it's been popular nowadays to just crap on it and to ironically like Space Jam, but I'm not one of those people. I just like Space Jam. It's not the greatest film ever made, but for what it is, it's fun. And I would have been able to enjoy A New Legacy in the same way if it looked like it was any fucking good. But this looks awful. It looks confused. I don't know what Warner Brothers is doing here. Space Jam was simple. You had Michael Jordan, you had the Looney Tunes, you had the Monstars who stole powers from NBA players, and you had Bill Murray and Wayne Knight. And that's it. You didn't have every single character in the Warner Brothers cinematic universe in some weird ass version of Ready Player One, the Warner Brothers edition, with LeBron James, Don Cheadle as some guy who is the host of The Matrix or some shit, and robot mutant versions of basketball stars called the Goon Squad. Now, the Goon Squad, I can deal with more. Like, that seems to be pretty okay to me, actually. I'm a big fan of the Trailblazers and Damian Lillard. So Damian Lillard playing one of the Goon Squad, I'm curious to see the film just to see what Dame is going to do in it. Um, that being said, the stuff with LeBron James doesn't do anything for me. Uh, from what I've seen in the trailer, he's every bit as talented of an actor as Michael Jordan, and that's not saying much at all because Michael Jordan really did not do that great of a job. I can understand the criticism. I can understand people saying that his acting was not good because it really isn't that good because he's not an actor. He's an athlete. He's an athlete first and foremost and an actor second. And LeBron James seems to be of the same mold. And I can deal with that if the other stuff around it works. But I didn't laugh once in this trailer. And the basketball scenes in particular were really bad. The court's way too big, and it seems like the rules are way too convoluted, or there's not enough of them. It's one of those things where I don't know what they're doing here. And then the emphasis on Warner Brothers characters is distracting and makes it feel like it's just a cheap gimmick to have all of these characters. Oh, wow, look, there's the Iron Giant. Oh, look, there's Scooby Doo and the Mystery Machine. Look, there's the Flintstones. Oh, look, there's the Droogs from Clockwork Orange. And there's Pennywise? Is this a kid's movie? I mean, what? And the fact that the Droogs are there in the background is hilarious to me because the director of this, Malcolm D. Lee, made such a big stink about Pepe Le Pew because he's problematic and had him removed from the movie. But there are actual fucking rapist characters who do way worse shit than Pepe Le Pew ever did in any cartoon he was ever in the background in the trailer. You have a child murderer in Pennywise who kills kids and eats them in the background. And then you also add the Droogs. And there's probably others in there in the background too. I think I saw a guy from Game of Thrones. Yeah, that guy's probably killed a bunch of people as well. Pepe Le Pew, who's never actually killed anyone, and most of the time, anytime that he was in a cartoon and he was trying to hit on the cat, he got his ass kicked and he never got the girl. He gets canceled, he gets removed, but Pennywise and the Droogs are acceptable in Space Jam: A New Legacy. Man, they got their priorities ass backwards, or they just have their heads up their asses. Yeah, I don't really look forward to Space Jam: A New Legacy. The only thing that caught my eye was some of the animation was pretty good of the Looney Tunes, and the shots that you did see of LeBron in animated form was quirky and kind of fun. But other than that, there was nothing really there. The most memorable thing about it is how tone deaf this trailer is. Oh, Pepe Le Pew, not okay. Droogs and Pennywise? I mean, what? So, that's my thoughts on Space Jam: A New Legacy. The trailer for what honestly looks like a train wreck. I'm still more than likely going to see it. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I saw Tom and Jerry, and apparently there's a second season of Picard. Why? A lot of fans hated Picard. There were so many videos from fans of Star Trek who absolutely loathed that show. Just because you're bringing back Q doesn't mean shit. Like, you still do not have your fan base in your corner. And I don't think Paramount gives a fuck because they're doing a fourth season of Star Trek Discovery. And I don't even know if that show even has fans. At least not anymore. After 3 seasons of shit. And there's an article talking about all the Easter eggs in Space Jam: A New Legacy. That's the thing. It seemed like the that's another thing that I didn't like about the trailer. It seemed like it was focusing more on Easter eggs than actual basketball. I thought this was a basketball movie. But in the more positive front, when it comes to Warner Brothers trailers, The Suicide Squad. I honestly liked what I saw. The second trailer more than the first one, the most recent trailer that came out. James Gunn is a much better director than David Ayer when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that alone is a step up. And I like the energy, I like the charisma. I think the action is going to be a lot of fun. The fact that I believe it is going to be R rated is a nice change of pace. And you even have actors like Sylvester Stallone, who's doing the voice of King Shark. And I'm curious to see how Sly's going to pull that off when it comes to the deadpan comedy of the character. I just like the style. I like James Gunn as a director, and I like a lot of the cast. Idris Elba. Some of the cast I'm not super big on. I think Joel Kinnaman's in this, and I really am not a fan of him. But Margot Robbie, I really like her portrayal of Harley Quinn. So I'm I'm all for the Suicide Squad. It actually looks like it might be one of the better, or honestly has potential to be the best DC film in the DC cinematic universe that I've seen to date. It really does. Even though, yes, you have John Cena and he seems to be uh, pretty crappy, but it seems like the other characters and in the dark, snide sense of humor, I think that that's going to be enough to outweigh his shortcomings. But I will definitely see soon enough when it comes to the Suicide Squad. Um, yes, there's a Chucky TV show. It's gonna suck. Doll dick. Like all the other Child's Play films have done, at least the ones that are a part of the official franchise since Child's Play 3. And yes, that includes Bride of Chucky, because I still think that film sucks. At best, it's got some nice looking shots and some decent kills, and I don't mind Tiffany, and I don't mind some of the ideas, but that is not held up very well, if you ask me. But it's still a masterpiece compared to the other sequels. And Don Mancini, he's behind this show. I don't give a fuck that you're bringing back Alex Vincent and Christine Elise because you had them in cameos in your shitty direct-to-video sequels. And with Alex Vincent's case, didn't you fucking kill his character? Or didn't you leave him to die? Or leave him in an insane asylum or some shit in the last film? So why should I give a shit that you're bringing him back? And it's a TV show for sci-fi. It's going to be cheap, and they're not going to be able to do that much in terms of the gore. And I don't see the point of a Chucky TV series. I really don't. And apparently, Bill Murray, he said in interviews that Afterlife brings back the original spirit of Ghostbusters. I hope that's the case. I really do, because as you all know, I am a huge Ghostbusters fan, a ginormous fan of Ghostbusters. And seeing what the 2016 film did to the franchise and to the spirit of it was an absolute blow to my soul, and it really hurt to watch, and it still hurts because it was just an slap in the face. It was such a slap in the face, so much disrespect. It was insulting. So there's a lot of ground that this new film is going to have to make up. That being said, I did see the clip with the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, and that had the right tone. That had the nice, surreal, silly, fun tone that I've come to love about this series, and with the cartoons like the Real Ghostbusters and Extreme Ghostbusters. So that one clip has me not necessarily 100% looking forward to Afterlife, but it's given me hope because you got Suicide Marshmallow Man. And yes, it's Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man. You do have a lot of nostalgia here, but at least they're doing something different and they're putting a spin on the old idea. They don't just have a lazy ass inflatable of Stay Puffed that gets popped with a knife like in the 2016 reboot. Here, it's something different that you haven't seen before. It's a different form of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's these little mini Stay Puffs who are suicidal and lighting themselves on fire and turning themselves into s'mores. Uh, just thinking about it cracks me up actually. Like that does seem like something that would be totally in a Ghostbusters movie. 100%. And yes, I know it's an excuse to sell toys at the end of the day, but I think it still has its heart in the right place, and that goes a long way. So I'm hoping that Afterlife is at least just a fun movie, a fun entry in the series that returns things back to the roots and brings this franchise back to respectability and removes the foot that was shoved up the fans' ass by the 2016 film and Paul Feig, because it's still up there. I can still feel the tip of that boot hitting my prostate as I sit here speaking to you. Now, I guess Sly's not going to be back for Creed 3. I don't give a fuck about Creed 3. I haven't even seen Creed 2 yet. Because I was that unimpressed with Creed. I thought it was just an okay film at best. Mediocre. More articles about Barb and Star. Go to Vista Del Mar. Why? That film was god awful. That was the worst film I've seen this year. I'm saving my thoughts for it to later. I will do a rant on it one of these days, but I got a lot on my plate. And all I got to say, for those of you who have made requests and have donated, I am so grateful and thankful for your contributions and for your support. And I'm going to get to all of your requests as soon as I can. But I do have a list of requests that is, let's just say, a little bit of a priority over some of the ones that have just come in because they were requested earlier. So that being said, I'm gonna get to them as soon as I can. Um, I will definitely 100% not forget. They will get done. And speaking of requests, I got a whole block of Rambo reviews for Nick that's going to be coming up soon. Now, when it comes to more trailers, there's a new Netflix series based on, I think, a comic series or an original script by Mark Millar, who did Kick Ass. It's called Jupiter's Legacy, and I really like the trailer for this. I like Josh Duhamel as an actor, and I like the idea of older heroes. That's something we haven't seen that much of. So it looks like it has potential. I like the concept. I like the song they used in the trailer. So I'm definitely curious about it. I'm looking forward to that more than Cruella. Saw the new trailer for that. That one doubled down even harder on the anti-hero vibe. And I'm supposed to root for Cruella DeVille, who kills dogs and wants to kill puppies and turn them into a coat? Really, Disney? The fuck are you smoking? Trying to make an anti-hero film about Cruella DeVille. I mean, Emma Stone, uh, she's she's giving it her all. I can tell that she's having fun, and I really honestly do like her as an actress, but that's not enough to save this film and this really stupendously awful idea. An anti-hero movie about Cruella de Vil. Like, what the fuck, Disney? There's going to be an adaptation of Batman The Long Halloween. That's a comic series that I do like, but the plot is a bit of a mess at times, so it's going to be interesting how they're going to navigate that with an animated film. Um, trying to see what other stuff. Looks like the Tomorrow War, which is a film that Chris Pratt did with a bunch of other actors, actresses, directed by Chris McKay. It was supposed to be released in theaters last year, but the pandemic came in and knocked out any plans for that happening. So it got picked up by Amazon and it's coming out in July. There's a new film that is going to be released fairly soon from the writer of Sicario, Hell or High Water, um, Cold in July, Taylor Sheridan. I think he also did Wind River. He's one of my favorite writers when it comes to these kind of films. These films that are pulp, true crime, or crime thrillers, or with action, bits of Western here and there. I'm a big fan of his writing. And this film that he's going to be doing is Those Who Wish Me Dead, and it stars Angelina Jolie. I like the idea of it, where most of it takes place in a raging forest fire, like a more serious thriller take on Firestorm. And I like Angelina Jolie, but what really is hurting this film is the effects. What I saw in the trailer is completely unbelievable. Can we start actually shooting with real fire again? Because I have yet to see CGI fire, especially on this scale, that looks real. It takes me out of it. If most of the movie is going to be taking place in this fake forest fire, I mean, Firestorm did a better job with its effects because they actually used real fire a good amount of the time. And if they did have CGI fire, it was like the older CGI fire that they used with like some green screen or something like that. So, and if you hear anything in the background, I have a window open because it gets hot as balls in here at night, especially if it's been hot during the day. So I had to do it. Otherwise, my brain was going to melt right down into my feet and onto the floor. So, yeah, in Firestorm, they had some old VFX ways where they shoot real fire and then they use a computer and put it in the background. Why can we not do that anymore? Just shoot some real fire on a miniature and then take that and put it into the film. Stop with this CGI bullshit. It's not effective. It looks fake as hell. There's so many scenes in this trailer that are not suspenseful at all because you can tell that Angelina Jolie is not in a real forest fire and she's not having to deal with the elements in that way. And you can tell that there's a filter over the screen in terms of what they're doing in post-production. So it's like one of those things that just takes you out of it with this fake ash and this fake uh, bits of ember and the fake orange filter. And it's just like, can we, if we're going to do this idea, actually do it? You're telling me we can't do it? There's plenty of films that have had real fire in the past, and they handled it well and safely. It seems like they would just rather do it all in CGI because it's easier to do, and also because they're afraid nowadays. They're so deathly afraid of a lawsuit from some actor that might get burned that they're not going to deal with real fire anymore when it comes to these films that really need most of the scenes to be featuring real fire for them to work. Because otherwise, you might as well just make the entire movie in CGI. Make it an animated film because it has the same impact. So disappointing. And also visually, it looks very muddy and lackluster when it comes to someone like Taylor Sheridan, who's done much better work when it comes to his directing in other movies. So yeah, that was a letdown. I might see it some one of these days just to see how they pull off the concept and see if maybe they improve the VFX. But what I did see, it's not gonna cut it. It's just not. Apparently, there's more proof that Hollywood is running out of fucking ideas because they are actually seriously considering making an Ancient Aliens movie. You know, based on that History Channel show that's had 20 fucking seasons, a bunch of crackpots and crazies talking about all these bullshit theories about ancient aliens. The one that really, for the most part, is more well known because of a meme with that guy with the crazy hair going, aliens! They're gonna make a whole movie based on ancient aliens. Good luck with that fucking shit. God. We really are scraping the bottom of the barrel if we're trying to seriously look into making a movie based on that bullshit reality show. Warner Media CEO confirms his plan for traditional theatrical releases only in 2022. So no more of the joint releases with HBO Max and theaters. Just strictly theaters. I don't really see that working. Even with everybody getting the vaccine, there's so much trepidation. There's so many people now that are more leery than ever before when it comes to going to a theater. And there's so many people now that are just used to the streaming model and like it better. And you're not going to get them to come back to the theater. So making it theatrical only in 2022, Warner Bros. They are going to lose a lot of money. They're losing a lot of money anyway right now, but they're going to lose even more money in 2022 if they think that that's the way that is going to work going forward. Because I'm sorry, the way that films have been in terms of distribution, that way is dead. When you open that streaming door and give people a taste of this HBO Max streaming service and all this other stuff, you're not going to get that audience who likes that experience and prefers it over going to a theater to go back to the theater. And half your normal audience or less is not enough to make putting movies into big screen formats and wide releases profitable. It just is not enough. It seems like Warner Brothers is way too confident because of some promising early box office results for Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, it's not bad. You're making some money, but how much did you make domestically? Wasn't the number last time I checked only $50 million in the US? In order for the film to break even, it has to make over $330 million worldwide. And yeah, it's made over $280 million. Okay, cool. But it has to make over $330 million. And it probably still will hit that number. But because the movie cost around $200 million to make, it's going to have to make double, triple, quadruple the budget to make any real profit. Especially to make up for whatever absolutely devastating losses that Warner Brothers has incurred because of last year and the pandemic. I think Warner Brothers is digging their heels in way too early, based on, in my opinion, fool's gold. Because I think there's going to be a lot of other big films later this year that are going to underperform, and Then they're going to be scrambling back to the current setup that they have, where they offer people who have HBO Max subscriptions the extra perk to see these newer, bigger budgeted films. I don't know why I said newer, bigoted budget. That's a whole different thing. But these newer, bigger budgeted films, and that's going to be the new format. I guarantee you're going to see that become the new norm going forward. No matter how much Hollywood wants it to be otherwise, that's going to be the new norm going forward because they can't financially afford to make it theatrically only. You let the cat out of the box. You can't grab the cat, catch the cat, and put the cat back in. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. And speaking of that, I understand why Warner Brothers wants and hopes and prays that this is a one-time thing. Because having big budget films that cost hundreds and millions of dollars on streaming services is a complete open door to free piracy and zero profit for the studio. And I can understand that. That's probably got them really scared and shaking in their boots about the future of their company and the future of their big budget blockbuster films. Because if a growing number of people just pirate it for free and they don't even sign up for HBO Max, they're fucked. So I can understand why they want to dig their heels in and really go hard and all in on this idea of theatrical only. But I don't think they can do it. I really don't. They let the cat out of the box, and now the cat's running around, and people are petting the cat, and they like the cat, and they're not gonna give you back the cat. So you just gotta deal with it. We'll see going forward. I think what will happen is they will foolishly think that they can just go with theatrical only, and then they will start taking some serious losses with some of these bigger budgeted films this year, underperforming in the box office, and then they will take a hard U-turn. I would be shocked if that is not the case. Now, let's see here. In terms of new. Oh, yeah. Chris Terrio talking about how the original script for Batman vs. Superman was darker and even more messed up. I'm like, I'm not surprised at all. I'm really not. Because it was already an edgelord script with Lex Luthor using a cup of piss to blow up a courtroom and all other kinds of fucking bullshit shenanigans. So I'm not surprised that it was darker and had stuff where Batman would actually go through with branding Lex Luthor with an iron. And people want Zack Snyder's universe to remain vital. They want it to remain living after all of that bullshit. I'm sorry, I don't really see the point of having more of this super grim dark DC universe. Because we already got a super grim dark look at DC with Nolan's films. This is just more of the same with the grim and darkness turned up to 11 to the point where it's ridiculous. Not my cup of tea. But if it's yours, cool. More power to you. But, you know, you can binge watch, you can watch the 4-hour Snyder Cut all the fuck you want to, but Warner Brothers is not bringing the Snyderverse back. They are going full stop, full steam ahead. I mean, not full stop, they're going full steam ahead on a completely different direction. They are not turning around and doing the Snyderverse. It's not happening. This was a one-off. There's news about another Saw film. Of course there is. This franchise will never die. No matter how much torture it puts audiences through, this franchise will not stay dead. That's why I am a little bit leery of Spiral. Despite the fact that I like the trailers that I've seen, I think Chris Rock actually looks like he's going to pull it off in terms of a serious role, unlike other people who have made fun of him in trailer reactions and stuff like that. I actually think he did a really good job from what I've seen. And I think he's very capable of that. And he's showing that in these trailers. I like the style of the film. I like how slick and stylish it looks in terms of the lighting and camera work. It looks like it has potential. Good cast. You got Sam Jackson in there. But it's Saw. And there's been like what feels like 100 fucking movies in the franchise already. So I'd be more excited about it if it wasn't Saw, but that being said, I'm still curious enough to give it a watch one of these days. I don't know about a Saw 10 though. Speaking of films that I'm curious about, there is a film coming out on Netflix. There's another movie that was supposed to come out last year, but didn't because of the pandemic. The Woman in the Window features Amy Adams. You also have Jennifer Jason Leigh and a whole bunch of other cast members. Julianne Moore is also one of them. And it's a take on a Hitchcock kind of story, like Rear Window, with this woman who's an agoraphobic, and she thinks that she sees a murder next door in the apartment across from her, but then it's revealed that she might be crazy because she's been locked in the house this whole time. She's starting to lose her mind, and then there's all this other stuff like maybe there's a person who's actually living in her apartment, and it looks like an intriguing film when it comes to how it's portraying things, how it's handling her psychosis, and it actually looks like it's going to be a well acted movie too. It looks like it's going to be Amy Adams's entry into I'm more than just Lois Lane. I am a way more capable actress than just the Lois Lane of the DC Cinematic Universe. And I know she's done stuff outside of the DC Cinematic Universe that's also gotten a lot of acclaim, like Arrival. But this really looks like something that's going to be quite challenging. And actually, I think she's going to pull it off because what I've seen in the trailer, it's very authentic. And I really think that she bought into it and she really put everything that she had into it. And as a result, I honestly am looking forward to it quite a bit. And I'm not the biggest fan of Amy Adams, but I really am looking forward to this one because I like thrillers, I like stuff like this, and it's got a great cast, and I like the idea. I've always liked the films that feature agoraphobics. That's why I'm a big fan of Copycat with Sigourney Weaver because her character is an agoraphobic, and I feel films that deal with agoraphobics can really create a really great sense of dread and tension because of the claustrophobia and a lot of the other elements that those kind of films can provide. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That's it for movie news. I really don't have anything else to mention. I pretty much talked about all the major big movie trailers. Now we get to my rant on Warner Archive. Let's end things with a bang. So Warner Archive, they are a Blu-ray DVD distribution arm of Warner Brothers. They have been around for quite a long time. A good number of their titles are made on demand, and for many years they operated uh, under the Warner Brothers Shop label. So they were under Warner Brothers directly. They weren't a part of a different distributor. Warner Brothers distributed their releases directly through the Warner Brothers shop. And they would have these sales every now and then called the 4 for 44 sales. And the most recent one was advertised as the last sale ever. The last 4 for 44. And knowing that, I went above and beyond the normal amount that I normally spend for a 444 sale. Normally I just go for 4 titles, maybe 6, but I went for way more than that. Because I saw it as the last sale and I wanted to show my appreciation, and I wanted to send Warner Brothers a bit of gratitude for their releases and for these sales, because it honestly was a good deal. They were good deals for their Warner Archive releases. I've gotten a fair number of them, the ones that I want the most from those sales. Because to be honest, Warner Archive is pretty lazy, especially when it comes to a lot of their DVDs. They don't even have a menu, and the transfers usually are not the best in the world. And then the Blu-rays, they normally skimp out on features. They usually are not that good when it comes to special features, except for maybe a commentary, if you're lucky, and porting over some old features. But sometimes they don't even do that from older releases. So you're just left with new transfers, and there are times where the transfers really are great. They are significant upgrades over the DVDs. But if we're talking about them in comparison to Arrow or Scream or Vinegar Syndrome or Synapse or Blue Underground, they really aren't in the same league. That being said, they still make a decent enough product that's worth paying for. So I did. I got a large chunk of titles. I paid over $100. It was actually over $120. And I was expecting some delays because of the increase in sales, because it's the last sale. But I wasn't expecting this. So it started off on the wrong foot with not one but 2 canned emails from Warner Archive telling me that there are going to be delays, blah blah blah. We've experienced a large number of orders. You know the deal. You get the drift. And I was like, okay, all right, I expected that. I'm patient. I'm a patient guy. I'll wait. But then days kept going by without any tracking number, without anything. And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous. Even for an instance like this, where you're dealing with more sales than normal and so on and so forth. And I know, yes, the pandemic and all of that, but it's also not the same as it was when there was a shutdown. So don't give me, oh, the pandemic, because it's not the same situation. Because there's been a lot of restrictions that have been lifted since then. But I was like, all right, okay. There's delays. I can wait. But it did get to the point where I was like, okay, it's been 15 days. It's been way past what they said. I'm going to get a hold of somebody through customer service. So I sent an email, and I got an email response back that was just telling me to wait. Once again, it was saying, we're dealing with a lot of orders, and da 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 da, and we're sorry, we apologize, and we ask you to wait longer for 15 business days. They like to do that. Like, they say 15 days, but then they try to specify it by saying 15 business days. So it doesn't include weekends. That being said, okay, they told me to wait, and they even said that it should be shipping soon because it's coming up to the 15 days. So, all right, I'll wait. I'll wait some more. I'll wait for your 15 business days. And then, pretty soon after I got that response from the customer service, I find out through the grapevine that the entire site is shut down. That Warner Brothers shut down the site while there were still outstanding orders and completely curb stomped and just decimated the staff. And now the guy who was speaking to from customer service, I tried to send him an email and it came back as undeliverable because that guy is now gone from the company. And I've heard things from other sources that there have been people who have contacted Warner Brothers customer service directly through the only other way that you can contact Warner Brothers about your outstanding order through Warner Archive in this last sale, who have not gotten a response from Warner Brothers for a month. And so now they're just going to get even more emails and they're going to get even less responses from Warner Brothers in return because Warner Brothers clearly doesn't give a fuck, and that pisses me off. That they did nothing to prepare themselves for more sales during their last 4 for 40 sale, 4 for 44 sale. Sorry, I can't even say 44 right now because I'm so pissed. They couldn't even prepare ahead of time because they chose not to. They clearly chose not to. They didn't choose to have more employees to make up for the uptick in sales. They didn't choose to keep employees on longer to make up for the fact that you're not going to have as many employees during a shutdown of the site, because that was their plan all along. After a certain point, they were going to shut the site down. They were going to pull the fucking plug and move everything to Amazon. You know, it's great. It's convenient. It's on Amazon. I honestly don't have a problem with the transition to Amazon, but the way that they've handled it is shitty. And this is honestly probably the worst customer service I've ever dealt with in my entire life. Even worse than the guys who did the Crystal Lake Memories documentary. Like, this is just unacceptable. And yeah, my order is in limbo. I don't know where the fuck it is. I haven't gotten a tracking number. I probably will never get a tracking number. If I do get my order, and I hope and pray that I do, it'll just show up one day. Because Warner Brothers doesn't give a fuck about me or anyone else that spent a good amount of money on this last sale that is still waiting for their order. They do not give a fuck. And that's so upsetting and it's insulting. And that's why I gotta tell Warner Brothers to kiss my ass. Because that's just bullshit. Like, come on now. And people have tried to explain it to me as if it makes sense because Warner Brothers doesn't care about you. You're just a small consumer. And the physical media sales were so paltry and compared to the box office for Godzilla vs. Kong or for what they're making with their streaming service. And okay, alright. But that's just fucking despicable business. That's such bullshit. That's such a shitty way to treat people. Especially from a major studio. To literally just tell people, fuck you. We aren't going to do shit. We don't care. You'll get your orders when you get your orders. You fucking peons. You fucking ants. We can crush you with the $50 million that we made with the opening weekend of Godzilla vs. Kong. So we don't give a fuck about your orders or your Warner Archive orders that are not fulfilled yet. We don't give a shit. You can go fuck yourselves. It's just like, who the fuck? I mean, who the fuck does that? I'm not a business major, but doesn't it make more sense to appeal every single consumer the best that you possibly can instead of telling consumers to go fuck themselves? Wouldn't you think that that's a better way to do things? Even if the sales were not equating to millions upon millions of dollars for the studio, isn't some profit better than nothing? Because doing this kind of shit just pisses off the consumer base. And it also trickles down to the point where they are like, well, if you're going to treat me like this, then fuck Warner Archive. I'm not buying anything from their Amazon store. And fuck Warner Brothers, too. I'm not supporting their dumbass for treating me like shit. So, wouldn't you want to avoid that trickle down effect? It wouldn't even really been that hard. You're a multi-million dollar company. Yes, you lost some money during the pandemic, but you could still afford to pay a few employees. There's not that many employees. What, maybe a crew of 100? Pay the minimum wage to help out with getting these orders out on time before you shut the site down. It's not that fucking ridiculous or that tall of an order. So yeah, I'm pissed. I'm definitely not a fan of Warner Brothers right now. And can you blame me? They just basically gave me the middle finger, told me to sit on it and spin. They're the ones that can go fuck themselves. But anyway, that's it. I just had to vent on this whole saga with Warner Brothers and Warner Archive because I'm not the only one. There are a whole lot of other people right now that are in the same boat as me who have just been fucked by Warner Brothers and they don't have any idea what's going on and they all they get is answers from people on the outside saying your orders will still be fulfilled. So they should have been fulfilled already. I should have gotten my order already. You should never have shut down the site while you still had outstanding orders and then completely decimated the crew that was filling them. You fucking assholes. So, yeah, that's just my diatribe on Warner Archive and Warner Brothers. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking Cinema, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.